This is Tuesday, the 9th of November 2010. That little white spot in the middle of the screen is your entrance sign, so I'm right by the Abergwesyn entrance to the reserve. Number one is dangling over this section of fence, rather precarious oak bough, which I can get down quite merrily with a pole saw, I would have thought. I'd bring 3 or 4 stakes along while I'm here, just to bolster up this bit of fence. If you waggle the stakes on the way up this hill, 50% of them immediately crunch at the bottom. That's number one. Indeed, as you come around the corner, a 90-degree bend in the fence, and come past an area where you've just reinforced a couple of ash trees with bamboo sticks. The stakes along here, likewise, are very tired. High proportion of them are crunchy at the bottom. It's tired, but it's upright. You might want to initiate some kind of program of putting in the odd stake here and there. A kind of rolling program, I suppose, would be a sensible thing to do, because the netting itself is fairly respectable. Number 2. Here I am at number 3, just adjacent to an area of clearfell. Apologies if the wind's a bit noisy. I'm going to probably end up having to work out how to do subtitles on this one. There's a stake here that's snapped off, and I suspect the netting will want to lift here because it's down in a slight hollow. I'd be tempted just to replace that stake to stop any further damage. I mentioned rotting stakes or tired stakes around point number 2 on the map. In fact, the stakes appear to have improved as I've moved up to this point here, number 3. So the very worst of the stakes confined to the area around number 2. This is a continuation of point 3. It's right adjacent to point 3. The felling has inflicted some minor damage to the fence. It's a bit crushed down. I'd bring 3 more stakes here just to firm up this section. Where is the fence? There's the stake. And as you can see, the netting's down here somewhere. Can you see? I can't. Yeah, here's the remains of the netting down here. It's just been crushed down. I don't think I need any materials beyond 3 stakes, so 3 additional stakes. That makes a total of 4 stakes for point number 3. Well, point number 3 continues. I'm just another 20 paces along. We've got a big fan of brash here sitting on top of the fence. It's kind of dislodged the fence a bit, and we've got a bit of a hole opening up beneath the fence where the tension's pulled it up out of a dip. Just need a stake, a couple of meters of netting, botch it up, pull the brash off. I'm going to call that an extension of point number 3. I remember reporting last year about the clearfell in this direction, where the predominant damage to the fence was the barbed wire on the top getting twanged and being quite rusty. It's just breaking and falling apart. Well, this section appears to be a continuation of that. It's all crushed down and snapped in many places. There's a fence in there somewhere. There it is. This is really very tired. I'm not sure how much we have in the way of stock on either side of this fence. I'm only a little bit further around the corner from section 3 that I was talking about. It puts into question whether there's value in fixing number 3 when there's such major surgery in order just around the corner. Number 4. Well, I'm still at section 4 here. We've got a terrible build-up of material here pressing against the fence. Here we are down at point number 5, and as a locator, here's a gate where there was a stile. The stile was removed last year. And perhaps you remember this section of fence disappearing into the ground, nature reclaiming her. A lot easier to access this year because the trees have been felled. Just around the corner here on point 5, the fence appears to be flat on the floor, and I'll have a closer look at that in a minute. See the stakes going there? This section of fence along the Clearfell, the wise thing to do, I think, is replace the whole lot, particularly if you're thinking of replanting. It might be a good opportunity, because now we're in land where we have sheep on this side of the fence. Section 5, where the fence is flat on the floor there, that also has sheep, so it's time to do something along here, I think. This is just an extension of point 6, just nearby. And here we have stock in the forestry. I'm now at a point where last year I'd reported a lot of breaks in the barbed wire north of a little stream. Again, those breaks are still numerous, and here's first signs that stock are actually getting into the woods. Is this newly planted? Yes, it is newly planted, this section, so I don't suppose the forestry owner particularly wants that either. Point 7. Other than that, in fairness, now we're away from that section of recent clear felling. The fence is tired, but predominantly stock-proof. Just as a locator, this is point 8, and that's the track just up there. I'm right next to the track. I'm a little bit, perhaps 50, 100 metres beyond where I filmed the sheep, point 7. And I got quite a significant gap under the fence here, which is possibly the point at which they gained access. There is wool hanging under the bottom of the fence here. I'd be tempted to bring 3 stakes, bring 3 stakes. It wouldn't take very long because I'm right next to the track, as I say, and just pin that netting down to the floor. That's point 8. Here I am still, what, 50, 100 metres beyond the last shot. So I'm an extension of point 8, trying to establish where the sheep are getting in. This is fresh wool, and despite the barbed wire, I think they're getting through there still. So I'd be tempted to get another strand of barbed wire here, tension the old one that you can see there, and put a second one in place. So this is an extension of point 8, trying to establish where those sheep are getting in. This is point 9, if you can hear me, above the wind. Ominous piece of cord around the top entrance gate, and another piece here. And sure enough, it's all very well going around these fences criticising other people and their holes and their shoddy fences, and here's a piece of work that I did. This latch no longer meets quite the way it should, so something's moved. I think those bypass one another. So I would be tempted to, in fact I shall, come and move the latch. It only needs moving around a little bit on the post, and I shall do that, of course, free of charge. Number 9. I've come down this northwestern slope this year. I don't usually do this, it's not actually included in your specification because you were building it when I first started doing this. However, it seemed pertinent to come and have a look at it. Beautifully built fence, absolutely stunning quality. Someone's really put some effort into it, which is really nice. Right next to the gate, hang on, let's have a look at gate. This small side entrance gate. Right next to that, we have a stile. It looks like a slightly old stile, I'm not sure. I can't see the point of it when it's next to a gate. It's a bit trippy, all this non-slip stuff, ironically. And the whole thing is slightly cockeyed and a bit sad, and I can't see the value in having that there when you've got a gate right next to it, particularly if it's going to invite people to fall over. I'd take it out. That's point 9, I think. I beg your pardon, that's point 10. Point 10, here it is again. Looking a bit squiffy. And back for the internal fences on Tuesday the 16th, where we've just been discussing millennia raking. This I'm sure you're aware of, gate not in place. Number 11. Okay, I'm back at point 3 on the plan now. I've come back to clarify some details of the fence along here. When I first walked along this section where the Clearfell starts, I'm actually standing now at the join between the Clearfell and the mature trees. There's a load of orange tape stuck around the trees, which I suppose says stop clearfelling here. At that point, as I moved clockwise around the reserve, I was finding lots of little bits of damage from the Clearfell, which I was recommended fixes for. But then as I got further and further, perhaps I mentioned this morning, I kept finding matters getting worse and worse. And I started asking myself the question, is there any point replacing this fence because it's so damaged? So the point of returning now is to see at what point might you get away with not replacing fence and just fixing, but at what point do you really need to just replace the whole lot? Well, I've just walked from point 5, that's where the nature was reclaiming her sinking fence. I've just walked from 5 back to 3, and my feeling is on that section, if you wanted to get a few years of life out of this fence, although it's very tired. Incidentally, I just put my tripod on the straining post here, and it was very hard to stand it there because the legs kept sinking into the straining post, which says it all. It is a very tired section of fence, but you wouldn't be hopelessly wasting your time if you botched it up to get another few years out of it. Whether that's consistent with replanting forestry and sheep and all that kind of business, I'm not sure. However, it would be realistic to botch that section 3 to section 5, and then perhaps it's around towards section 6 where you really start asking yourself the question, is there any point in this exercise? Well, here it is, my favourite shot, number 12. Bits of animal hair or wool stuck in a fence. This is horsehair. I'm in the horse paddock. There's a favourite rubbing post here by the looks of things. And the ground is all getting very poached here and squelched up against the bottom of the fence, so the bottom of the fence is disappearing. All in all, it's becoming a good place where you could, without too much effort, step over. Here's a normal kind of height. You get it into here. It's all getting a bit close to the ground. I don't know if you can make that out. And it's obviously a favourite spot to be. So, I'd be tempted to bang a stake in the ground there and just get a length of barbed wire that's long enough to go around the 2 adjacent posts, so that there's one extra higher up strand of barbed. That's point number 12 in the horse paddock. Can you see that? Yes, you can. It's number 13. This whole section of fence down from 12 down to 13, right down to the Irvon in fact, is all in the latter half of its life. It's not the strongest fence ever, but it has been well maintained, I think. So yeah, just a note that it's getting on a bit, but there's nothing going through here. Number 13. Again, while I'm here with a stake and a mallet, it would be a good idea to bang a stake in at that point to stop sheep coming under. Number 13. Well, here I am, number 14. Strictly speaking, this is on the boundary that I'm checking, and it's a gate, and the latch doesn't meet properly, but I don't suppose in reality that's your issue, but I suppose I might as well make a record of it. That's number 14.